What up, boys, and welcome back to yet another video. So Blizzard just keeps handing us great news, and today's video, I'm really excited to talk about this because it basically just made player housing 10 times better for me as someone that's into gold making. And there's been a lot of unanswered questions with player housing, and by all means, it's a while until we get player housing, so it makes sense that we don't know everything about it yet. But I feel like yesterday's blue post about player housing just like ensured me that this was going to be something that's going to be evergreen content and extremely good for the economy as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and look at the blue post, and I'm going to tell my opinions on it though. Firstly, another set of great news. So if you're planning on playing Pandaria Classic, you can now grab the complete gold guide for Mist of Pandaria Classic. By using the discount code STUDENT, you get it for 50%. And if you don't give a shit about Panda Classic, it's not for you. You're going to stick to retail. Don't worry, you can get the 0 to 10 million gold guide for retail, which features all the best tactics and methods that I personally use in order to achieve hundreds of millions of gold by clicking the link down below in the description. And if you apply the discount code STUDENT, you get that for 50% off. Now, the blue post that I'm referring to is this bad boy right here. And like Wowhead says, Legacy Achievement grants player housing rewards, decoration sources revealed for player housing. And a lot of cool shit to come out of this right here. So we're going to go down and we're going to read about the post itself. I'm going to link this post down below as well, but we want to go into details on like some of the things that I think is really interesting, where they say that the progressive journey principle means that the majority of decor types like chairs, beds, shelves, etc. are considered commodities and are readily available from the vendors, other players via the auction house, spoiler, questing, and so on. So if you want a wooden chair, it's very easy and inexpensive to acquire. I think that's really cool because a lot of the items are considered commodities, probably going to go on the region-wide auction house. They're craftable, they can be bought from vendors. Maybe they can even drop from mobs or specific raids and be sold on the auction house. We don't know that yet, but I'm guessing that there's going to be a lot of decor items that you can farm and throw up on the auction house. And then you have investment decor, which are generally more niche items, either theming, look, or repair, which requires more time and or cost investment. For instance, a sparkling fountain with the particle effects or magical books that flap on their own. And they're also saying that there's going to be trophy items that you can get in your player housing. That was already kind of teased, and everyone was assuming that that was going to be a thing in the past. Like we saw the Onyxia's head on the wall requires you to defeat her and obtain the achievements. And further on, they say that when we were first drafting this article, it was line that read, where can I get decor? Yes, while pity, it's not far from the truth, either when it comes from to our second principle of core gameplay with variations. Decor should come from everywhere and everything. We want you to find decor rewards in all sorts of gameplay, not just a single avenue where you feel forced to interact with it over and over again. So that's really cool, because it's going to come from vendors, professions, or other varied forms of content. Like, we all know that that means there's going to be trading post rewards and definitely in-game shop decor and items for player housing as well. I mean, that's bound to happen, and there's going to be a lot of people fuming on the forums and on Twitter when there's like something really badass for player housing being released, but only in the in-game shop. Like, that's going to happen 100% at some point. But regardless, though, like the vast majority of the decor and items for player housing will be accessible for absolutely everyone. And there you can take a look at the example of the achievement, like the More Dots achievement, which grants you the head of the Broodmother to hang up on your wall. Really cool. And then we're talking about they want all the time we spend in Azeroth to actually matter. So something will be locked behind the legacy, reputation, professions, and more. If you've achieved something in the past, we want to embrace the time spent. So it's going to be one of those things that where the people that has played the game for a very long time will already be able to, from launch, be able to fly around and purchase all the decor and stuff for their player housing, because you've already done a lot of the quests, a lot of the achievements, and of course you might have the professions leveling up and so on. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see like all the loot sources from the decor. Now, this one is very interesting to me. Trust me, I'm a professional. We're not going to bury the lead here. Decor will be crafted by all existing non-gathering primary professions instead of crafting a new profession. And I talked about this live on my stream, and I said that I think the best way to do this is not by making a brand new profession that crafts items for player housing, because I feel like the professions that we already have, like with a combination of them in some cases, will be plenty to be able to craft absolutely everything. It's going to be interesting to see if Blizzard does combine professions, and what I mean by that is if you want to make, let's say, like a bed, you need both blacksmithing and leatherworking items in order to complete that bed. Maybe you make modules that you need to combine in order to get to the bed and stuff like that. But I definitely think that this is the step in the right direction. It's awesome for the people that's already playing the game and they have all the professions in every expansion already leveled up. Makes it a bit easier to dive into it and make like a shit ton of gold from the start. So, and they were talking about that each profession will be able to craft, like, this is what's slightly concerning to me. Each profession will be able to craft a few pieces of appropriate decor from each expansion, using that expansion's version of the profession. Like, to craft something for Mist of Pandaria, you need to be a relevant Mist of Pandaria profession at the appropriate level. And this is also something that I talked about on my live stream with what I wanted for player housing. I said it would be absolutely idiotic to like have something like player housing such a big feature in the game and not make it evergreen content. It wouldn't make sense if you couldn't craft items that were like Blood Elf themed from TBC, right? And so on. So there should be items that has like the theme of an expansion, and luckily they were doing that. On my wish list though, because we can clearly craft these player housing items. So I kind of, if I could choose, that might come. We don't know yet. But I really hope that there's going to be like recipes that you farm in, let's say, TBC. You want to craft a Blood Elf themed curtain? You got to go and farm the Magister's Terrace in order to get that pattern, and then you can sell that pattern, or you can choose to learn it yourself and craft these Blood Elf themed curtains. I think that would be really cool and really force people to run like all of the previous expansions we've had in the game. And by all means, they can still do that, and you're still going to have some of that, because they're going to add, by the looks of it, they're adding like decor item drops like from various dungeons in different expansions. And then that's going to force people to run old dungeons as well. But at the same time, they don't want it to feel like a transmog hunt like a lot of people are doing now. So it's going to be interesting to see. I hope that they will add more than just a few pieces of appropriate decor from each expansion. Because I feel like the way that they worded that right now in this blue post says that, yeah, as long as you have Mist of Pandaria tailoring maxed out, you can just go to your profession trainer and you will be able to learn 4 items. And then you go to Cataclysm tailoring profession trainer, and he will learn you 4 items as long as you're max level with Cataclysm tailoring. So everyone is going to craft pretty much every single player housing items. There's not going to be a recipe or a pattern that's really hard to get that crafts something really cool, right? Another aspect of this is they teased like what it would look like with the an own separate genre called house decor. And this is obviously classic inscription, as you can see, needing Iron Bar, Sorrow Moss, Royal Ink. I believe, isn't that Wrath of the Lich King though? But anyways, it's already teasing that you'll need old materials, and they also said that further down in the post, like to craft something, players will need not only the required recipe and skill level, but they will also need to gather a new type of decor crafting specific reagent per expansion, as well as any required reagents from that expansion. They're teasing it further down in this text as well, but there's going to be new materials that we need to gather, and like that's specific to that expansion. So if you go to classic expansion, you're gonna need to gather the ironwood lumber, and if you go into TBC, there's gonna be brand new material that you need to gather in that expansion. We don't know how these materials are gathered, and I think it would be a missed opportunity for Blizzard to not make them a gold sink. I feel like the ironwood lumber should be just sold from a vendor, but it's going to cost you like a decent amount of gold. Kind of like what you saw with the Shadowlands base legendary crafts, where the materials from the vendor was a nice gold sink. Same thing with crafting tier 3 out of the Seekers of Naxxramas. We need more gold sinks in the game. We really, really do. So hopefully that's gonna be a thing. And then there's some example as well. In general, like most profession-made goods, crafting decor can be traded to other players or sold in the auction house. Some examples of what professions will be able to make. Blacksmithing creates decor made primarily of metal, and enchanting creates magical decor like floating books and glowing orbs. Jewel crafting creates decor like gems, gem-studded objects, as well being the designated stoneworking profession. And this one is cool. 2 of the points above should be underscored. Your profession and your levels from the past expansion matters. So do some of the reagents from that expansion. Just in case you were looking for something to do between now and the launch of player housing. Now, I have obviously invested heavily into player housing even before this blue post, but especially after this blue post I invested heavily, and I know a lot of people on the VIP Discord has done that as well. VIP Discord is pretty much like a Patreon where we all share goal making ideas and tactics, and you can see my investments on there. You can see all my YouTube videos before they go public on YouTube. You get access to exclusive gold farms, gold tips, multiple spreadsheets for gold making, and much more. And we also predicted the patch 10.17 Naxxramas and Skolaman's materials on that one. So hopefully we will make just as much gold this time with player housing. But I do think it's really cool. I really, really like this blue post about it. They'll also go further on with some things that people might be interested in, but from a gold-making perspective, I just think it's really cool that you'll be able to craft the housing decors and the items using the same professions that we have now. And I like that it requires you to use the expansion's materials. I mean, that only makes sense. If you want to craft something out of TBC, you got to use TBC leather, cloth, or like the bars, and potentially also the elemental materials like the primals, right? And same thing for Wrath of Lich King and Cataclysm and so on. So it's kind of similar to what we saw with the return of Skolamans and Naxxramas transmog, where you were able to craft Nax and Skolamans loot, and those items required classic materials, obviously. So that just caused a whole bunch of different zones and farms to become viable again. And they will forever be viable because everyone is at some point going to want to get those transmog items. And that's not going to stop next year. And player housing is just making that even stronger. Now there's yet another reason to go and get like XYZ materials in order to craft player housing items. So I think it's really, really cool. I just hope that they also add recipes, patterns, and plans into like different dungeons and raids of the expansion, so we have to go out and farm those, just like we had to farm for the Solgurub patterns, the Skolamans patterns, the Naxxramas patterns. I just hope they do something very similar to that with player housing items. But in general, super, super excited about this, and it's gonna be insane for gold making. I mean, I'm not even sure how to explain it. Like, if you've been around in like every wave of something like even remotely similar, like when you had the return of Solgurub transmog, the return of Skolamans and Naxxramas transmog, the sales were going absolutely mental, right? You could sell so much. When Blizzard introduced the profession achievements as well, like though everything tied to the profession achievements was absolutely insane. We made so much gold. When Blizzard allowed us to transmog white and gray items, like the amount of gold that we made was insane, and not even everyone was interested in any of these markets. But I feel like with player housing, everyone to some degree is going to be interested in those items. And like, I know for a fact that most people aren't going to buy the decor that they will use in their house. They just want every single decor possible because of achievements, completionists. They want to have the option. Maybe they want to use that chair or those curtains. I don't know. I'm just going to get them all so I could choose and make exactly the house that I want to have. And most people, they don't really know what they want until they have it, and they can check and mix, like, and match it up against each other and so on. So I think player housing is going to be one of those things where most people are just, they just want to gather every single item that's like literally obtainable in the game, so they have more options to deck out their house. So super excited about this. I can't wait for Blizzard to give us more details. Hopefully they will at PAX. But please let me know what you think about this. And don't forget to check out the 0 to 10 million gold guide. I will, of course, update as soon as we know more. I'm going to update the 0 to 10 million gold guide with all the best ways of making gold with player housing. Because if you wasn't aware, once you get the retail gold guide, you will receive a lifetime of free updates. That means that whenever there's a new patch or a new expansion, I update the exact same book and I send that updated version with the new best methods to your email completely for free. So check that out. And if you already have it, definitely consider joining the VIP Discord. I appreciate you all watching, and I will see you all back in at tomorrow's video. But until then, bye-bye.